picture a thriving community, the epitome of African American success, wealth, and ambition. Now imagine it burning to the ground in one of the darkest chapters in American history. Today, we dive deep into the untold story of Black Wall Street and the Tulsa Massacre. Before the tragic events of the Tulsa Race Massacre, Greenwood, the city's Black district, stood as a beacon of African American prosperity and success in the early 20th century. But on May 31, 1921, this thriving community faced a violent onslaught from a white mob, leading to 2 harrowing days of devastation. The aftermath saw hundreds of Black lives lost and over 1,000 homes decimated. Yet, the atrocity of the massacre shouldn't eclipse the luminous history of Greenwood. Home to 10,000 residents, it was the heartbeat of African American commerce and culture, with Greenwood Avenue, or Black Wall Street, at its core. In 1906, Greenwood emerged from the lands of the Indian Territory, a vast expanse in modern-day eastern Oklahoma, where Native American tribes had once been forcibly resettled. A unique intersection of histories. Some African Americans in the area had previously been enslaved by these tribes and later melded into their communities. Through the Dawes Act, a law that distributed land to individual Native Americans, they came to possess plots in Greenwood. Moreover, a wave of Black sharecroppers, eager to escape the shadows of racial oppression, flocked to the area, seeing a glimmer of hope in the post-Civil War era. Oklahoma emerged as a beacon for African Americans, especially following emancipation, portraying itself as a sanctuary in the vast landscape of the Indian Territory. Post-Civil War, Oklahoma became a hub for Black communities. From 1865 to 1920, African Americans established a plethora of Black townships and settlements in the area. At the heart of this movement was O.W. Gurley, an affluent Black land magnate, who bought 40 acres in Tulsa. Drawing inspiration from a town in Mississippi, he christened his land Greenwood. O.W. Gurley's establishment of the first Black enterprise in Greenwood in 1906 marked the dawn of a new era. Gurley envisioned a place carved out and uplifted by Black ambition, for and by the Black community. His inaugural venture? A boarding house tailored for African Americans. As word spread about the burgeoning opportunities in Greenwood, waves of Black individuals gravitated to the district, eager to carve out their own success stories. Gurley wasn't just a businessman. He was an enabler of dreams. If someone had the drive to establish a business, Gurley was there to back them up financially. The magnetism of Greenwood didn't just stop at Gurley. The district also lured other notable Black entrepreneurs. Among them was J.B. Stratford, a figure who transitioned from the shackles of slavery in Kentucky to become an esteemed lawyer and activist. Arriving in Greenwood in 1898, Stratford's footprint was unmistakable. He erected the Stratford Hotel, a 55-room luxury establishment that stood as the nation's largest Black-owned hotel. A fervent advocate for Black empowerment, Stratford preached the gospel of collective economic growth, emphasizing the potency of pooling resources. A.J. Smitherman, whose family ventured to the Indian Territory in the 1890s, launched the Tulsa Star. Situated at the heart of Greenwood, this Black newspaper was pivotal in shaping the district's ethos of social awareness. It served as a beacon, enlightening African Americans about their legal entitlements, and keeping them abreast of any court decisions or legislative actions impacting their community. In the backdrop of the stifling Jim Crow era, the quest for equal rights for Black residents of Tulsa remained relentless. A railroad track dissecting Greenwood effectively segregated the Black and white residents. This division cemented Gurley and Stratford's aspiration for a self-sustaining Black economic ecosystem, driven by both passion and practicality. Given Tulsa's stringent segregation, their decision on where to set up shop was more out of necessity than choice. Post-statehood, Oklahoma's racial climate only intensified. Greenwood Avenue was a bustling hub, lined with high-end stores, eateries, groceries, hotels, boutiques, cinemas, barbers, beauty parlors, a library, pool establishments, clubs, and offices for medical, legal, and dental professionals. Additionally, Greenwood boasted its distinct educational institutions, postal services, a savings and loan facility, medical centers, and a comprehensive transportation network. But not everyone in Greenwood lived in affluence. Many still held blue-collar roles, including janitors, dishwashers, porters, and household staff. Yet, the wages they garnered outside were funneled back into the Greenwood economy. It's often said that within Greenwood, a dollar would circulate 19 times before venturing out of the community. The prosperity of Greenwood's African Americans soon caught the eyes of the local white populace, many of whom struggled to reconcile with the success of a community they wrongfully perceived as lesser than themselves. We can simply say the term jealousy feels apt for that era. When you have less privileged white individuals witnessing a thriving black community with grand homes, exquisite furnishings, crystalware, china, and fine linens, their sentiment often was, they shouldn't have that. With the Ku Klux Klan's resurgence, a palpable fear gripped Greenwood's black residents, apprehensive of both racial violence and potential disenfranchisement. The Oklahoma Supreme Court persistently endorsed the state's barriers to voting for African Americans, enforcing measures like poll taxes and literacy tests. Simultaneously, the dark shadow of lynchings loomed large, especially during the infamous Red Summer of 1919. This period witnessed anti-black violence erupting in numerous American cities, including Tulsa. To empower the community, the Tulsa Star rallied black residents to arm themselves and be present at courthouses and prisons, ensuring the safety of black individuals facing trial and shielding them from potential white-led lynch mobs. A century after the massacre, in May 2021, Viola Fletcher, aged 107, stood before Congress to share her harrowing experience. These were her words. On the night of May 31, 1921, I nestled into bed in our home in Greenwood. The community I closed my eyes in was affluent, not just monetarily, but in its rich culture and lineage. We lived in a splendid house. Our neighbors were wonderful. Playmates surrounded me. I felt secure, with every comfort a child could wish for, and a promising path ahead. She then delved into the haunting memories of the ensuing devastation, which remained stark in her mind even after a century. The scenes of black men being gunned down, lifeless bodies strewn on the streets, still play before my eyes. The acrid smell of smoke, the blazing fires, the torch-black establishments, the ominous drone of airplanes above, and the haunting cries, I remember them all. The turmoil began on May 30, 1921. Dick Rowland, a young black man who made his living shining shoes, entered the Drexel Building's elevator in Tulsa to access one of the limited segregated public restrooms downtown. An unexpected scream from the female elevator operator led Rowland to quickly exit the elevator. Soon after, whispers of an assumed sexual assault spread rapidly. The subsequent arrest of Rowland the next day resulted in an escalating standoff at the courthouse between an enlarging white mob and black men determined to prevent a potential lynching. As tensions rose and gunshots echoed, the outnumbered black group withdrew to Greenwood. Tragically, the pursuing white mob unleashed a night of chaos and brutality. As the night wore on and dawn broke on June 1st, thick, ominous smoke shrouded much of Greenwood. The frenzied mob systematically looted residences and businesses before setting them ablaze. Those attempting to escape the chaos were occasionally gunned down in cold blood. Numerous survivors recounted the terrifying sight of low-hovering planes, with some allegedly dropping bullets or incendiary materials. By midday on June 1st, Governor Robertson of Oklahoma implemented martial law and deployed the Oklahoma National Guard to the scene. Authorities rounded up thousands of black residents of Tulsa, corralling them into the local convention center and fairgrounds. Authorities detained the black residents of Greenwood, labeling them as the main culprits disrupting peace and order, rather than holding accountable the white mob responsible for the carnage and looting. Regrettably, for many years following the incident, it was misleadingly termed a race riot, insinuating the black community's initiation. Justice remained elusive, with no individual ever facing consequences for the devastation or fatalities. Following their detention during the martial law enforcement, the shaken black residents of Greenwood were held under the watch of armed guards, some briefly, others for extended periods. For Black Tulsans to secure their release, a white employer or citizen had to vouch for them. According to the 2001 Tulsa Race Riot Commission report, the most extensive assessment of the massacre. In the subsequent year of the onslaught, Tulsa locals submitted claims linked to the riot, amounting to over $1.8 million. Yet, both the city's commission and insurance companies dismissed the majority of these claims. A notable exception was a white shop owner who was compensated for firearms taken from his store. Now that sounds just about white. By November 1921, despite the extensive property damage and a lack of support from city officials, the reconstruction of Greenwood commenced promptly. While a significant number of Black residents left Tulsa for good, many remained, determined to start anew. Some took shelter in Red Cross tents until they could reconstruct their homes. In 2001, the Tulsa Race Riot Commission report advocated for reparations to survivors, labeling it as a moral imperative. The quest for compensation persists. As we remember the tragic events that transpired, it's essential to honor not just the memories of those lost, but also the indomitable spirit of those who persevered. The pursuit of justice and reparations serves as a reminder that history should not only be acknowledged but rectified. The tale of Greenwood challenges us all to be active participants in the making of a more inclusive and just future.